African Union Communications Early Warning and Intelligence, commonly known as AUC3I, is an intelligence and security organization responsible for providing signals intelligence and information assurance to AU citizens, AU leadership, and AU armed forces. I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. I am responsible for leading infantry soldiers at all levels of command in combined armed forces during missions on the ground. This is today's briefing. On the progress of the special military operation as of June 25, 2025. The armed forces of the Russian Federation continue to conduct a special military operation. Units of the North Group of Forces improved their position along the front line. They defeated the manpower and equipment of 2 heavy mechanized, 2 airborne assault brigades, 2 assault regiments of the armed forces of Ukraine, and a territorial defense brigade in the areas of the settlements of Radyanskoye, Andriivka, Novaya Sich, Alexiivka, Kondratovka, Kropotshchina, Unikovka, and Sadki in the Sumy region. In the Kharkiv direction, units of the mechanized, motorized infantry brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine and the territorial defense brigade were defeated in the areas of the settlements of Peskanoy, Shabalnoy, Granov, Yudy, Volchanskaya Kutter, and Volchansk in the Kharkiv region. That the enemy's losses amounted to 160 servicemen, 4 combat armored vehicles, 8 cars, and 7 field artillery guns. An ammunition depot and a supply depot were destroyed. Units of the West Group of Forces improved their position along the front line. They defeated formations of 2 mechanized brigades of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, a territorial defense brigade and 2 border detachments of the Ukrainian Border Service in the areas of the settlements of Grigorovka, Gorkovatka, Kupyansk in the Kharkiv region, Sredny, Shandrigolovo, and Karpovka in the Donetsk People's Republic. Ukrainian Armed Forces lost up to 200 servicemen, 7 vehicles, a British-made 105mm L-119 howitzer, 3 electronic warfare stations, and 4 ammunition depots. The units of the southern group of troops took up more advantageous lines and positions. They defeated the manpower and equipment of 3 mechanized, mountain assault, airmobile brigades of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and the National Guard Brigade Azov in the areas of the settlements of Serebryanka, Lipovka, Petrovka, Seversk, Privoli, Reznikovka, Chasov Yar, and Ivanopoli of the Donetsk People's Republic. The enemy lost up to 165 servicemen, 4 vehicles, and an artillery piece. Units of the center group of forces continued to advance deep into the enemy's defenses. They defeated formations of 5 mechanized, airborne, mountain assault brigades, 2 assault regiments, a brigade of unmanned systems of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, 2 brigades of Marines and 2 brigades of the National Guard in the areas of the settlements of Grishino, Yudaknoy, Lenina, Krasnoarmysk, Novovodanoy, Yablanovka, Petrovskoye, and Novopavlovka of the Donetsk People's Republic. The losses of the Ukrainian Armed Forces amounted to 510 servicemen, 2 combat armored vehicles, Cossack, 6 cars, 6 field artillery guns, including a 155mm self-propelled artillery unit Bogdana, an ammunition depot, and a US-made and /TPQ-50 counter-battery radar station. Units of the East Military Group, as a result of active and decisive actions, liberated the settlement of Yalta in the Donetsk People's Republic. They inflicted losses on the manpower and equipment of 2 mechanized brigades, an assault regiment, an unmanned systems regiment of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, and a Marine brigade in the populated areas of Kamyshavaka, Voskresenka, Shevchenko in the Donetsk People's Republic, Uspanovka, and Sladko in the Zaporizhia region. The Ukrainian Armed Forces lost more than 190 servicemen, a tank, an armored combat vehicle, 7 vehicles, and 3 artillery pieces. Units of the Dnepr Group of Forces defeated formations of the Mechanized Brigade of the Armed Forces of Ukraine and 2 territorial defense brigades in the areas of the settlements of Primorskoye, Stepnogorsk, and Novopavlovka in the Zaporizhia region. More than 80 Ukrainian Armed Forces servicemen, an armored combat vehicle, 12 vehicles, 4 field artillery guns, 5 electronic warfare stations, an ammunition depot, and a fuel depot were destroyed. Operational Tactical Aviation, Strike Unmanned Aerial Vehicles, Missile troops and artillery of the groups of troops of the armed forces of the Russian Federation destroyed the launcher of the S-300 PT anti-aircraft missile system, the P-18 air target detection radar station, and the control vehicle. Defeat was inflicted on enterprises of the military-industrial complex of Ukraine, workshops for the production of unmanned aerial vehicles, an oil depot supplying fuel to units of the armed forces of Ukraine in Donbass, as well as temporary deployment points of Ukrainian armed formations and foreign mercenaries in 137 districts. Air defense systems shot down 7 U.S.-made JDAM guided aerial bombs and 335 aircraft-type unmanned aerial vehicles. In total, since the beginning of the special military operation, the following have been destroyed: 663 aircraft, 283 helicopters, 65,472 unmanned aerial vehicles, 612 anti-aircraft missile systems, 24,038 tanks and other armored combat vehicles, 1,572 combat vehicles of multiple launch rocket systems, 26,599 field artillery pieces and mortars, 37,271 units of special military vehicles. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it useful and informative. If you have any questions, please leave them below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible.